Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart. Today, great topic. We're going to talk about heart health, although we're going to take a little different angle today. We're not going to talk about the typical blood pressure issues or lipids or cholesterols or anything like that. Today, rather, we're going to talk about other things that are affecting our heart that we have a lot of control over, probably at the root cause of many of all of those other symptom chasing whack-a-mole type of approaches that sometimes we have when it comes to cardiovascular health. So today we're going to do a deep dive. This is a great topic. I'm excited to present this topic. This has been a game changer for me probably over the past decade. And today we're going to very specifically dive into a topic called deep sleep. So deep sleep just sounds good. I know that. So deep sleep is a very specific part of our sleep. It is the non-REM component. So we'll dive a little bit deep into that. But first, let me just again say thank you for being here. Thanks for participating and showing up for another Health Made Simple show. I appreciate you guys. Keep doing the thing. Keep sharing it out. Keep spreading the love. And again, those of you who are commenting, these are the things, the comments and the shares and the likes, all of that. That is how we're able to essentially expose the Health Made Simple show to more audiences and help more people. And again, the sole premise of the show here is really to help make things simple. It can be a complicated world out there, and it's not going to get any less complicated. Yet the truth is that we were all designed to be healthy. We were designed to function at a high level. And my goal here with the Health Made Simple is to continuously narrow that down to sizable, easy chunks of information that you can take and start to apply directly. And today is absolutely no different. So let's do our thing. Let's dive into deep sleep here. So deep sleep is the non-REM version of sleep. This happens at a very specific time during the night, and it is different than we've heard so much about REM. So think non-REM, and here's the big difference here. Deep sleep, these four things very important. This is for physical and mental restoration. This is when your body repairs and rebuilds. That's huge, folks. Repair and rebuild. Second, or really third here, so it's about physical and mental or cognition. And then it's repair and rebuild. This is when you restore and build back up your immune system, folks. This is in deep sleep. And then also regulate hormones. So think what I just talked about, the immune system, repairing your physical body to feel good the following day, your immune system to boost it back up, balance out your hormones, and repair your physical body and your cognitive ability. So the REM sleep, a little difference there. REM, we hear so much conversation about, at least in the past we did. And that's really more about things like memory, your recall ability, but your cognitive ability, your everyday to be able to be sharp, to communicate quickly, to have, the answers on the tip of your tongue and just be able to fire away and have great conversations with people, to be able to make decisions quickly. This is deep sleep. So this is why I'm super excited about it. So I want to bring it back to how and why I'm even involved with this and why it becomes such a target for me and all my clients. Let's kind of back up a little bit. About, say, 10 years. Now it's actually been more than 10 years. Probably 10 to 15 years ago was the first time that I kind of really started to hear about deep sleep. And it was in the conversation of longevity. So when it comes down to longevity, the two things that we're really trying to achieve, there's so many different ways to get there, and a lot of them are all ending up in the same place. Yet we are trying to increase and improve the function of our mitochondria. Also, we would like to increase the length of our telomeres without going too deep diving too much into those. Basically, those are both ways that we can measure and predict our longevity. Literally, how well is our body functioning at 30 years of age, 60, 90 years of age? We can measure on how well the mitochondria and telomeres are doing. So with that being said, if you're measuring them and you get a certain score, whatever your score is, hypothetically, or at least common logic to me says, I get a score. How do I make it better? And that is exactly where my whole thought process about deep sleep began. So when I originally got my first scores for telomeres 15 years ago, my telomeres score was not that good. Even though I was a healthy dude and an athlete all the years, all that kind of pseudo athlete. Anyways, that began my deep dive. And then simultaneously, I had my coaching program, my concierge coaching program. I started to measure a lot of the things like telomeres and mitochondria. Not so much mitochondria 15 years ago, but telomeres we were able to measure for a long period of time now. Still not great science, but there's still a something to measure with. Anyways, when we started to measure this, I started to recognize, man, all of my entrepreneurs, all of my peeps are scoring awful in this category. They're literally have shortened telomere lengths, and their mitochondria less. Essentially, their aging scores are much higher than their actual age. So it made me do even a deeper dive. And then I discovered something called deep sleep. And what deep sleep was, again, just as I mentioned here, the ability for us to recover and repair. And that, folks, is a mitochondrial response. Our ability for our mitochondria to recover and repair is huge. Ability to boost up our immune system, huge. Our ability to regulate hormones, huge. Our ability to have physical energy the following day, to have cognitive function, all those huge. So that began my deep dive. Now, a couple of nuances about deep sleep. Many of us, through our course of our lives, we're like, yeah, I sleep good, whatever. And you think that just because we can get through with 5 or 6 hours of sleep, that was okay. So all of those things to improve hormone regulation, to improve immune function, to improve your physical recovery, the repair of your muscles, of your tissues, of your tendons, to literally be a healthier human being, you need more deep sleep. So a couple things to go with that. One, how much deep sleep is ideal? Ideally, an hour and a half to 2 hours per night. What I was discovering for most of my entrepreneurs, and it just happens to be who I work a lot with, we're discovering between 0 minutes and 30 minutes per night. And it was an eye opener. And then it was really no surprise to me why so many entrepreneurs were running into so many health conditions and health challenges. And I wasn't far off from it. So that became a deep dive for me. That became a target. I might even say an obsession over the last 10 plus years of understanding how could I improve my deep sleep. And that's why I like to measure things. So there are simple ways you can measure now. Now, pretty much all of the wearables, things like Apple Watches and Oura Rings, Whoops, all of these things, for the most part, are giving us scores of our things like heart rate variability, deep sleep, the recovery indexes and all of that. My favorite for this, and I have no affiliation to them, is Oura, the Oura Ring. I happen to be wearing one right now. The Oura Ring probably has the best technology and the most accuracy when it comes to sleep data. And that's the data we're really looking for, because all of us know when we step back and look at it and go, whether it's about heart health or any other health in the human day-to-day lives, we know the better you sleep, the better you are. Like, there's never been an argument about that. We soften that stance by saying, well, I only slept 4 hours last night and I'm fine today. Yes, there's some outliers there. And every now and then, because we are amazing at being humans, we can get away with that stuff on occasion. Yet collectively, day after day, week after week, month after year, decade after decade, the quality of your sleep will determine the quality of your life and the quality of, or the potential of, your longevity. So with that being said, let's talk about deep sleep a little bit more here. The losses, the reasons we're not getting deep sleep, this is where it gets really interesting. And this became part of my obsession. The first and foremost, and this is something all of us have power over. There's a very specific time every single night that, whether you like it or not, that you're going to be able to get your deep sleep. And there's times that you're not going to be able to get it. So for the most part, and this is really more about nature's clock, this is about circadian rhythm. For the most part, it is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Yes, you get a little bit more before that, a little bit after that, yet for the most part, that hour and a half to 2 hours, 80% or more is going to happen between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Now, if you're listening to this, you might be immediately thinking, well, what if I'm not sleeping during that time? And folks, you're missing it. And that's where I was. That's where a lot of my entrepreneurs were. They were grinding it out until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Weren't going to bed until midnight, watching TV, on their phone, surfing, whatever it may be. But Doc, I'm busy. All of the above. I don't care. It didn't matter to me. My scores were still awful until I started to go to bed earlier. And here's what I've discovered over time. Really nothing super productive happens at night. And I know some of you go, well, I get my second wind. Listen, we should be in line with the rhythm of nature, which is to go to bed with the dark, get up with the light, and always eat in the light. If you find yourself out of that rhythm, literally against universal rhythm of nature, and all of a sudden you're becoming wide awake at 10 p.m., that basically tells us you have an imbalance in your adrenal function. You are probably getting a cortisol spike in the evening. You shouldn't have that there. To ignore that or to act as if that's normal or a good thing's probably not so awesome. So again, pay attention to that. Let's not fall into the trap of saying, well, this is what it always is for me. The truth is, we know statistically that deep sleep happens between 10 p.m. 2 a.m. immune system regulation, hormone regulation, recover, repair. All of these things are happening between those times. Once I started to recognize that and I found a way to measure it, then I started to bring in tools. No one really had this. This wasn't a list that someone said, hey, do these things and you'll be better off. I knew some of the fundamentals: exercise during the day, right? And then go to bed early, eat the right foods, don't eat too late. Those were all real, and they're things I'll talk about in just a moment here. But here were the common causes of loss: timing, timing, timing. So the first thing was screen time. If we're on our phones late at night, we are tricking our eyes and our bodies to believe that it's sunlight out. And that by itself triggers a group of hormones. Well, very specifically, it tips off your pineal gland to tell melatonin to shut down instead of turn on. So melatonin happens when it releases in the body when it starts to get dark out. But if all of a sudden we turn on the lights and we make our eyes believe that the sun is out, that's what our phones do, you turn off melatonin and cortisol rises. So cortisol, which is your stress hormone, so it's not a bad thing, but it's our stress hormone. It should follow the sun, meaning that it's high in the morning and decreases as the day goes. If you're getting a second wind at night, like you get that bump and all of a sudden you're creative and you can write and you can be really productive, you're getting a cortisol bump later in the day. That's where you want to go back and listen to one of my podcasts about adrenal health, but not such a great thing. That eventually will burn you out. So timing number one is, are you having screen time at night? The second is timing of going to bed. At some point, we got to just surrender and say, I got to go to bed earlier. If I go to bed earlier, I have more likelihood of getting deep sleep. So if you are in this game to do the best that you can and to be the best version of yourself, imagine if you got an hour and a half, 2 hours a night of deep sleep. You would have to imagine it, because the likelihood that you are getting it currently is probably slim to none. Even when you start to imagine it and you start to take a lot of action toward it, it's going to be difficult to get a decent amount. But when you do, you start to feel what feels like anti-aging. You wake up with a little bit more zest, a little more pep in your step. You wake up a little bit more mental cognition, meaning you're ready to go with the day. You don't wake up and roll in there and hit snooze 5 and 10 times. It's not happened for someone who has a good amount of deep sleep. You physically feel recovered and you get up and you're ready for your day. It's a nice place to be. So, and I can now predict the days that I've gotten a fair amount of deep sleep because I monitor it so much. Again, no affiliation to them, no kickbacks, nothing like that. But Aura, in my opinion, probably is the best technology for deep sleep, or really for any sleep parameters in general. So caffeine time. So I said time, screen time, going to bed time, caffeine time. Caffeine is one of those tricky things where for some people it affects. A lot of people say it has no effect, but we find that the later you eat caffeine, drink caffeine during the course of the day, the more it disrupt your deep sleep. Again, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So the goal is to be in bed no less than an hour before 10 p.m. So you're down resting so you can get a good amount of deep sleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And the goal, an hour and a half to 2 hours per night. And that's rock star status. You will feel like $1 million. Now imagine doing that week after week, month after month, decade after decade. You will then start to see the effects of all this good lifestyle. So now the question becomes, what are some of the things that I can do to hack this a little bit? And that's what became my obsession. There's no tricking it. You still have to abide by the clock, by circadian rhythm, and go to bed during that time. But let's just say you're like me, and for years, you broke these rules. You were going to bed late. You didn't necessarily get too much deep sleep, and you just kept trucking along, pushing and grinding and moving and grooving. And you woke up the next day and be like, I don't care. And you pump your chest and you keep doing it. Been there. That's not an awesome method. It works short term, does not work long term. And that is essentially what affects our heart. Remember, our heart is just a muscle, folks. And we see all this stuff, and we have all these really, really smart people over analyzing it. I said it, over analyzing the methods, the way that the heart is working, it's pumping, what valve and what specific, angle and all this different stuff. We're over analyzing because when I say over analyzing, we're skipping the fundamentals. That a heart is a muscle, and just like your biceps, just like your quads and your abs, they need a break sometimes. And the break is every single night. They need to recover and repair. And if we give them those opportunities and the tools that they need to recover and repair, we across the board will see better functioning, healthier functioning hearts. And I mean all the above. We're going to see blood pressure is lower. We're going to see arrhythmias go away. We're going to see all of the abnormal beats and the function, all of those things that we get caught up in whack-a-mole. This is what's wrong. Apply this medication. If that one didn't work, try this other. The truth is that if we treat that muscle group like a muscle group and we give it the ample time to recover and repair, be amazed what happens. What happens? It starts to recover and repair, and all of a sudden things get better. Now we have to give it the tools as well. So let me dive into this. Really 3 tools that over this course of time, there's probably more, but there's 3 things that I use for myself and for others that have been a game changer when it comes to the ability to improve or basically increase the amount of time that my body, your body, can be in deep sleep. You get more deep sleep, you are going to feel better, younger, stronger, period. All right, with that being said, number 1 is magnesium. There's going to be 2 versions of magnesium I talk about. And again, I apologize if when it comes to the conversation of magnesium, no doubt, Instagram, social media, I love it. Instagram, social media, I love all of this stuff because it gives us exposure. It often does confuse us though. So probably one of the most common comments I get right now is, hey doc, which magnesium do I take? It's so confusing. There's so many out there. Good news is this. There's really no bad source of magnesium. I'd tell you to stay away from something called magnesium oxide. That's probably the ones we want to avoid collectively. And that's in the really cheap brands and stuff like that. If you're getting good brands out there, you're not going to find the oxide in there so much. But if you do see magnesium oxide, just toss it. Go get a different form. Stuff relatively cheap anyways. Most of the ones that end in ATE, glycinate, lactate, citrate, those are all good. Certain ones do certain things a little bit better than others. The most balanced one that I've come across out there is something called magnesium lactate. And essentially magnesium lactate is going to help you sleep, help you poop. Not too much on your stomach, not too much in any direction. Magnesium does not help us fall asleep. It helps us stay asleep. Huge. Especially between the hours of 1 and 3, 12 and 4, like in that category there, which is a good portion of our deep sleep. So that is first and foremost. Is magnesium important for the heart? You bet yes, you bet it is. It is probably the single highest deficiency that we have when it comes to all of the minerals. It is an electrolyte, meaning it is one of the minerals that the human body uses to fire, to help turn on the electricity properly in the body. So when we think about all these arrhythmias, all of these highs and lows that the heart might have, at the foundation of almost every single one of them, there's some level of a magnesium deficiency. And just a little side note, folks, as we age, you're going to need more, not less. The reason being is it's just a simple component of bioavailability. As we age, it is not uncommon that our ability to absorb and utilize nutrients, vitamins, minerals, our proteins and our fats, it is not uncommon that it's harder for our body to absorb and utilize them. So often we need higher doses. So it's not uncommon that an individual at 30 might need a certain level of magnesium, but when they get into 60 and 70 and 80, that dosing might be triple or quadruple. And that's where I would say make sure you get with your provider. And these are individual things. These are not a cookie cutter for all of us. So magnesium lactate is my absolute first go-to when it comes to heart health, and also when it comes to helping us improve our overall deep sleep. What is the action? What is the effect that it's having? So just to keep it simple, why magnesium and deep sleep? So here's what it does. Magnesium acts as if it's a vasodilator. What does that mean? Your arteries, your vessels expand, not contract. High blood pressure is a contraction. That's often found if we have too much calcium in our body relative to magnesium. So that's another electrolyte. Calcium contracts, magnesium dilates. Most of us are burnt out of our magnesium because our lifestyles are so go, go, go. And then especially if we're not sleeping good, we stay in more of a contracted state. So the magnesium acts as a vasodilator, opening up the vessels. So ultimately the action is that your body gets more oxygen, more nutrients, more hormones spread throughout the body so you recover better. That's as simple as it gets, folks. Does magnesium balance your hormones? No. Does it vasodilate so you can have balanced hormones? Yes. Does it improve your immune system because your white blood cells now can circulate through your body better just because you vasodilated? It does. So that's the beauty of it. So number 1 is going to be, I use is magnesium lactate. With that being said, there's another source of magnesium that at this point I think all of us should utilize. A little bit of a lower dose. That magnesium lactate, typically I just have you take it before you go to bed. It's really good. It's a yin mineral, so vasodilates, helps us sleep, helps us poop, etc. The next is really what I'd call a multiform source of magnesium. And this has become one of my favorite products to use across the board right now. All heart health, recovery, nutrients, electrolytes, a little bit of everything. And this product called EZ Mag. It's EZ Mag. It's a product that Standard Process makes, and in a nutshell, it says, and magnesium comes from the soil. If you've listened to my podcast before, you've heard me talk about the importance of soil and how critically important it is. So the soil essentially feeds the plants feeds the humans, right? If the nutrients are not in the soil, the plants don't get it and the humans don't get it. Standard Process, their farms up in Wisconsin have the best quality soil probably in the world until proven otherwise. And even when it's proven otherwise, there's still it is probably as good as you're going to get when it comes to soil. They have a multiform source of magnesium that comes from the soil into plants. I think the primary plant is a Swiss chard or something like that. There's another one in there as well. Anyways, it is multiform, and they've studied this, and it crosses your blood-brain barrier probably 4 times faster than any other source of magnesium out there. And it gets you all of the different types. This I administered a little bit different. They have these big tablets, pretty cool, so you get a good amount. And I would take one twice a day. And I'll tell you, every single heart case out there, I don't care what type of heart case you are, if you're looking to improve your cardiovascular situation, EZ Mag and some other form of magnesium should be high on your priority list. Can we test these things in labs? Not really. Magnesium in the bloodstream is not equivalent to magnesium absorbed into the tissue, so we don't have a really great way to test this. What we do know is that we need these electrolytes. We need to have some balance. And that EZ Mag, by the way, it's soil-based. It's going to bring you a lot of your electrolytes. It's also bringing potassium along with that magnesium. And for any of you that have run into any issues with high blood pressures, you've been to the hospitals, whatever it may be, you've had these acute situations with your heart, you know that some of the first things they're going to test is your potassium levels to find if you're depleted in potassium, because if you are, that's going to create things like arrhythmias and high blood pressures, etc. So very balanced, multiform, crosses the blood-brain barrier, which is very important in terms of helping our whole body recover and repair. And that is what we're trying to do here. All right. Last but not least, this one's going to sneak up on you a little bit because this is not talked a lot about in the health world, especially when it comes to heart health. But this has become one of the determining factors for myself and so many of my clients to get that next level of deep sleep. And again, we have to train our bodies to be able to do this. So that means going to bed frequently, our body's like rhythm. So it's the same time to bed every night and same time up in the morning. Again, go to bed with the dark, get up with the light, always eat in the light. That rhythm, we cannot avoid that. Even if you take all this magnesium and this next vitamin included, we still have to abide by the fundamentals. The next one is what we call vitamin B2. And folks, this is absolutely one of my favorites. The use of this has become a game changer for me in my practice. And in my personal life too. So Cataplex B, the supplement name is Cataplex B2, and I'll make sure we do put these in our notes. If you guys want to get them, we'll make that easy as well. Cataplex B2. This is different than a full complex of B vitamins. It's very important to understand this. Typically, when you think of B vitamins, we think in the terms of energy, and that's not what we want. We don't want excitability. We don't want nerve conductivity in terms of contraction. We want the opposite. So the B2 acts as a vasodilator, just like I talked about when it comes to magnesium, but in a different manner. It relaxes the nerves in the vessels. This is huge, folks. The majority of heart issues out there right now in our country, outside of, say, plaquing issues, all of the ones, the arrhythmias, all of the skip beats, all of these things that we hear, high blood pressures, this is a stress issue, folks. The stress can come from physical, mental, chemical, doesn't matter, but it's a stress. And the arteries, in the internal side of the inside of the vessels, it constricts. So if we can relax those nerves and we can create some vasodilation and again, create better flow within the arteries, within the vessels, and we get more oxygen, more nutrients, more hormones floating through the body and getting to the vessels, the tissues that need them, including the heart, we see overall better health, which is phenomenal. So something so simple as vitamin B2, which acts as a nervous system relaxer and it helps the vessels expand. Essentially, vasodilation has become huge in its ability to affect deep sleep. So those three weapons right there become my new formula, if you want to call it, to improve deep sleep. So the B2 is something, again, I take just at night. And and again, I'm not trying to provide any medical advice here or override anything your doctors are saying, but I'm talking about improving status and function of your body so you become a better, stronger human being, so you can enjoy every day that you wake up. We should wake up a little pep in our step, body's feeling recovered and rebuilt, and that way we can get after another great afternoon, another great day. With that being said, that combination of using magnesium, which is a mineral, acts as a vasodilator, vitamin B2, which is a vitamin, which is different than a mineral, it acts as a vasodilator. Those two right there have been the secret to deep sleep, and also the exact same thing when people have symptoms of high blood pressure and all of these other heart issues. That's the exact same protocol we use. And not because it treats those things, rather because it helps increase the function of the human heart, of our heart. So with that being said, if you are looking to level up your deep sleep, which I encourage everyone listening to this, if you don't have anything that measures it, and I know that's kind of the downside of measuring, like there's probably more frequencies and stuff like that running through our bodies. But if there's a little bit of a trade-off here, if in the event that you have something you're measuring with, start measuring your deep sleep and know that ultimately, especially as we age, it is a big determinant on the function and the quality of our mitochondria and our telomeres. And to improve that deep sleep, one, we got to go to bed on time. Stop playing with the phones. We're all guilty of that. Make sure that we're not eating too close to bed, making sure we're getting caffeine out of our lives, at least the second half of the day. All those things have to apply. And then supplying the body with the tools. A little bit of magnesium. My favorite is magnesium lactate, hands down. I typically start people at 3 capsules per night. Little Easy Mag. This is the multiform magnesium that comes from the soil, crosses the blood-brain barrier better than anything out there that's been researched. It gets into the brain and helps our brain function a little bit better. It helps our bodies relax a little bit more, increasing that vasodilation. We take one of those tablets twice a day. It's just feeding the body. It has other electrolytes in it, particularly has potassium in there, so we're balancing a lot of the electrolytes there. And then last but not least, probably the secret weapon, you're not going to hear about this much, but this has become a game changer for me and a lot of my clients, to add B2. B2 relaxes the nervous system, then your body, then it has the effect, the action on being a vasodilator, so the blood, the oxygen, the nutrients, the hormones can get to your body where they need to be so you recover faster. All right, folks, with that being said, that's a little bit on heart health, a little bit of a different way of looking at it. But that's what we're talking about. That's why you guys are here. You're here saying, listen, instead of playing whack-a-mole, trying what medication, what thing to lower these things, how do I just get better? And that is one of the simple things. Improve your deep sleep, and you're improving your overall function as a human being. All right, folks, with that being said, keep doing the thing. Keep sharing out. Keep spreading the love. Keep doing the thing. Of course, we can take deliberate action for our minds, for our body, overall wellness. That'll be awesome.